Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're doing good. I'm doing pretty alright. Got a warm-up video for you today. So what I've done is I sketched this a day or two ago, I think, just kind of like a rough idea in my sketchbook, and then I wanted to save it to record a warm-up video because this is kind of a different warm-up that I do. If you've watched the other videos, you've kind of gotten an idea of like what I do for warm-ups and stuff like that, but this one's a little bit different because I've already kind of like sketched something, and I did it a few days ago, so now I'm coming back to it and kind of like doing the line work for my warm-up instead of drawing something totally new. So this is something that I like to do, and if you have trouble coming up with stuff for warm-ups, this is a good thing to try. Just, sketch out a rough idea, don't worry about finishing it, and then come back to it in a few days, and before you sit down to draw, either add some line work or finish it, or maybe, even try redrawing it. You could try redrawing it if you want. If I had this like rough idea here and I looked at it a few days later and I didn't like it, I could redraw it here, kind of, looking at that for reference for like a simple little warm up. But I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna use a regular number 2 Ticonderoga pencil. It's a Dixon Ticonderoga. Really nice pencil, super cheap. You can get like a bunch of them for like a few bucks at Walmart, or I think you can even get them at like the dollar store. So you should be able to find this kind of pencil anywhere if it's something you want to try. I've tried a million different kinds of like number 2 pencils, and this is my favorite one, just in terms of overall like feel of the graphite and all of that. It's just a really nice solid pencil, and if you're on a budget or you don't want to spend a lot on art supplies, pick some of these bad boys up, and you won't be disappointed. If you like drawing with wood pencils, it's a good thing to try, because I always advocate using cheaper materials, art supplies, stuff that you could find even just like laying around the house. Like you might even be able to find one of these in like a drawer or something. But number 2 pencils are really nice to draw with. They have a super wide range in terms of what you can do with them. I like to sharpen them down really, really thin and do like really thin lines with them, but you can also leave them like stubby and get some like different shapes to your lines, and it's got a really wide range of like light to dark when depending on how hard you push when you draw. Number 2 pencils are great. This one in particular is great, but they're all good. You don't have to buy expensive art materials to draw. I say that a lot, but I think it's really important for people to think about that, because I run into a lot of people that spend a lot of money on art supplies and then either end up just not using it that much or like not really liking it, and that's money that could have gone to something else. So definitely do research and consider before buying like new expensive art supplies. Make sure it's going to be something that is actually going to benefit you, because there's a lot of things out there that the name brand is really, really expensive, like markers and certain pens and stuff like that, and sometimes either the like off brands or even different kinds of similar tools will work just as good for you, if not better. I like using Crayola colored pencils. I've used many, many different kinds of colored pencils, and I've used very expensive colored pencils. I've used very inexpensive colored pencils. I've used, like a variety of everything. And I came to the conclusion that Crayola, which is, not a brand that you would think of when you're thinking of nice art supplies, is my favorite brand of colored pencil. And I have a ton of other videos where I draw with those Crayola colored pencils, so if that's something you want to check out, just scroll through, and if you see a video with colored pencil, it's most likely going to be Crayola. So yeah, you can check that out if you want, if you're curious. I also want to do like more art supply review type videos, because I always kind of like talk about the supplies that I use in the videos I do, like when I use them. But I did the review video for this particular sketchbook, the Traveler's Notebook, with the sketchbook inserts, and you guys seem to really like that. I got a lot of like cool feedback and stuff like that, so that was really good. If you guys like that kind of thing, let me know. If you want to see more reviews of particularly the stuff I use, but if there's something that like is really requested that I don't have, I might even consider picking it up just to review it if you guys are, that curious about that type of thing. So if you are, let me know, because I'm always interested in hearing what you guys have to say, and different things you guys want to see in the videos, because I like making videos. I got a bunch of ideas for things that I want to make, but it's always cool hearing from you guys, because not only does it give me ideas to do things that are maybe a little bit different than I would normally do, which kind of like, I don't know, maybe I get some good videos out of it because it's, out of my comfort zone. But I'm always, how many times can I say always, open to suggestions. So yeah, don't be shy. Just let me know. And if like specifically you want to, he like see me do a review about like Crayola colored pencils, that would be something I could definitely do, because I have a ton of them, and I have a few different kinds too. I have like some erasable ones, and some like different color sets and stuff like that. So that would be a lot of fun to do. But yeah, let me know. Anyway, kind of digressing from what I'm working on here. Just, I'm not paying too much attention to like detail or anything like that. Like I've got some detail in here, but mostly just doing like a quick pass on the line work, keeping it kind of rough, quick and simple, because I don't like to spend a ton of time on my warm-ups. And I did talk about in my last warm-up video about doing like some longer ones, and that's something I definitely want to do and will do. But most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, when I'm sitting down to warm up, it's something quick like this, spending between 10 to 15 and maybe 20 minutes at the most on one of these warm-ups. Because after this, let's see, what time is it? Not that it matters watching the video, but after this, I'm going to be working for about 2 hours. And so I obviously don't want to spend an hour warming up and then only have an hour to work. So if I'm working for 2 hours, I can spend 15 minutes warming up and not really lose that much time. Like the benefit from warming up is worth spending that time. But it's a balance, because if you're like me, and I feel like many people are, when it comes to like the time you get for drawing and stuff, like that time is valuable. Yeah, I guess time, like money, doesn't grow on trees. So the time you get to draw is valuable in the sense that like you want to sit down and be able to produce something, because you don't have an infinite amount of time. Like maybe you have to go to work or you have to go to bed. It could be anything, but when you sit down to draw, you want to use that time to draw, and that can create a lot of pressure. I feel it, the pressure to like sit down and create something. It's like, oh man, I've only got an hour to draw. What am I gonna do? And then if I draw something and I don't really like it, I feel like that time was like wasted or something like that. But warming up can be a really good way to kind of, just kind of loosen up and get some of that anxiety out of the way, so you can just focus on creating rather than, racing against the clock. Because that's not necessarily, some people work great under pressure. I work great under pressure in certain circumstances, but a lot of times that can be kind of harmful to your creative drive, to like have that pressure to create something within a certain amount of time. And that can be, like I said, that can be really harmful to your creative drive. And it's, not only causes anxiety, but it's really frustrating, and when you're frustrated when you're drawing, that that's not good. I don't think so anyway. I think that for the most part, art should be fun. And even if you're, drawing for work or something like that, it should still be fun. It should still be an enjoyable experience, so that's important to me, is not only, doing the tangible things of warming up, like, actually sitting down and doing a warm-up drawing, but also the intangible things, like, your mood and the way you're feeling, that also factors into warming up. And I have discussed, if you have a ritual when you sit down to draw, whether it be getting yourself a cup of like coffee or tea, or putting on some music, or your favorite show, that's all part of like warming up too, because that's getting you in that kind of creative space, that space where you're wanting to create, you're feeling creative, you're comfortable, and you're gonna make something cool. So that's part of warming up too. It's not just the act of drawing. There's a lot more to it than that. There's so much more to it than that. And it's easy for me to sit down and put my pencil on the paper and draw. Like that's something that I can do and I've been doing for a very long time. But like actually wanting to do that is more of a challenge. If you tell me like, okay, sit down and draw a robot, it's like, all right, sit down and draw a robot. But like, how much am I going to enjoy drawing that robot? That also factors in. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of like just talking off the top of my head here, so it may sound kind of like abstract, but it is something that is important and factors into to the way you draw and the way you create. So think about that. Next time you're sitting down to warm up or to sketch or anything like that, think about not only like how you're feeling with the pencil on the page, so to speak, but like how you're feeling, in your mental. Like what kind of mood are you in? Because it's difficult to always be in a good mood, right? And I'm saying that like mood is important, like how you feel is important when you draw, and it's unrealistic to expect to be in a good mood every time you sit down to draw. But you can kind of get yourself closer to that by having something to look forward to when you draw. And I mentioned, having like a snack or anything like that can help you kind of condition yourself to look forward to drawing. Even if it's just something as simple as like, when you sit down to draw, you have a piece of candy. It's like you're slowly gonna like condition yourself to associate drawing with having a piece of candy, and you're gonna want to sit down and have your piece of candy while you draw. Or like I said, like a treat or a drink or anything like that. I usually get my coffee. That's my thing. It's right here, always within arm's reach. So, that's how I do it. That's my thing. But usually, if I'm recording, I obviously don't have music on. But normally, I'll sit down and put a few like really good songs in my queue that I've been wanting to listen to, and have those playing. So it's the music's got me like feeling good, and that translates to feeling good while I'm drawing, and leads me to drawing stuff that I feel better about. So that's part of it. So this is kind of like, I guess, touching on the more intangible elements of warming up, and the things I've been repeating over and over, getting yourself in the mood to draw in that creative headspace. But yeah, kind of coming full circle, drawing something like this that's already been sketched out, for me is easy because I don't have to think about it. It's already there. I'm just kind of following the lines and the guides that I've already laid out for myself, and just enjoying the process of drawing rather than stressing about coming up with something cool. Because some days I've got ideas when I sit down. I'm like, oh, I want to draw exactly this. And then I sit down and draw exactly that because it's been in my head. It's been something that I've been thinking about, and it's easy to get out that way. But I don't always have something in mind. So a lot of times I will do rough sketches like these and kind of just leave them in my sketchbook, and come back to them whenever. I also do that with pages that, maybe aren't all the way full. Like I draw like one little, figure, or like, like a little thing in like the corner of the page, but I don't actually fill out the whole page with drawings. And then when I warm up, I kind of take that as an inspiration and fill out the rest of the page, either adding cool designs or more characters, different colors and stuff like that. So, building off of something that's already established for a warm up is a really great trick. Really great trick. I definitely recommend trying it. And I was in the mood to draw something kind of dark when I drew this. So yeah, it's I haven't mentioned that yet, but you probably noticed by this point that this isn't a particularly pleasant drawing. Well, depending on what you're into, of course. That's all I'll say about that. But I'm having fun, and it feels good, and I'm going to be ready to work on some more cool stuff when I'm done with this. So that's all you really need out of a warm up. And this one, it's about 15 minutes now, but I'll just let it go a little bit longer. Might as well, because I kind of want to get this, mostly finished. I'll start moving a little bit faster here. I normally don't like set a timer or anything when I'm warming up. That's something you can do if you really want to hold yourself to a specific amount of time. Just set like a timer or an alarm on your phone. Normally, I'll just kind of keep an eye on the clock. I'm not trying to go exactly 15 minutes like to the second. It's more of like just kind of like a general figure. 15 minutes or so. 14 minutes, 12 minutes, 9 minutes. Whatever, however much time you feel like you like need to spend on it, and that's something that I can tell you. Oh, it's good to spend 10 to 15 minutes, but maybe you need more, maybe you need less. You shouldn't feel bad, like, oh man, I need 30 minutes to warm up, and other people I've seen only need a few minutes. Like, what am I doing wrong? It's nothing. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it too much, because the whole point of doing a warm up drawing for me, in my opinion, is to reduce that like drawing anxiety. That's what I do, because when you sit down and like got like a big, like, oh man, I've got like a big detailed commission to work on. It's like you could just jump into that and it might be kind of rough. And you may be able to work out some of the kinks and some of the stiffness while you're drawing that, but I always think it's easier to, do a warm up first, because that reduces a lot of the pressure and anxiety of like, oh man, when I put my pencil on the paper, is it gonna look good? As one does when they draw. At least I do. I mean, it's my personal experience. It's hard to say because everybody's different, but hopefully in me sharing the things that I do, even if you don't do things exactly the way I do, and I would recommend not doing things exactly the way I do, but it's totally fine to change it up and just figure out what works for you. That's really the whole point, I think, because everybody is different, and something that works for one person may not work for someone else, and something that doesn't work for me may work great for you. I was just the other day, something I do very, very rarely, actually sitting down in Photoshop and trying to do like a digital drawing. Even just for a few minutes, I tried, and it was really frustrating. It's just me. Like, I like coloring and stuff in Photoshop, but I hate drawing in Photoshop. I hate doing line work. It just doesn't feel right. Like, I need the feeling of the paper in order to feel comfortable while drawing, in order to execute the style I want to. So when I get in Photoshop and I don't have that, it feels super strange, and I don't like it. So that doesn't work for me, but there are people out there that make beautiful things doing line work in Photoshop, and it's incredible. It's totally foreign to me. It's like another language, but that's exactly the point, right? What works for some people doesn't work for others, and that's a basic example, but it's true for everything, not just the tools or the programs you use, but the way you do things, how long you do things. When you draw, it's fun though. That keeps it interesting. Because if I felt the exact same way and drew the exact same way every time I sat down to draw, I'm sure it would get boring for me eventually. Because I'm always, finding most of my frustration with drawing in, my style. Like coming up with something new, trying something new, looking at what I've done and wanting to do something a little bit different. Like, that's my biggest struggle. Is fighting myself with my own style, but it keeps it interesting. It's frustrating, but I have that drive to get better. I feel that drive to learn and improve. I see where like I do things right. I see where I could do things better, and that's what keeps me going. Always doing something different or trying to do something different. Is really important to me. And I think that's important, for anyone doing any sort of creative anything, to be incredibly specific, doing anything creative. You know, it's try to tap into that drive to get better, you know, and not look at it as something that's like, oh man, I'm not good, you know, right now. But look at it as like, oh, well, yeah, maybe I'm not good right now, but I can definitely get better. You know, it's the only way to learn. I talk about it all the time. I always end up coming back to this topic of, you know, not worrying about where you're at. Just keep an eye on where you're going. You know, because you'll see it over the years. The more you practice, it's a slow process. Trust me, I know it's a very, very slow process, but it happens. If you look at your stuff from years ago, it's easy to see, wow, like I've made an improvement. If you look at your stuff from yesterday, it's hard to see, you know, sometimes. So don't get too stressed about it. I mean, I know I do. I still do. You know, I'm always I'm always saying this, but it's still hard for me. So don't feel discouraged if it's hard for you too. The more you sit down and just try, even if you're making stuff that you're not totally happy with, the better you'll get over time. You know, every bad drawing is just one bad drawing away from a good drawing. And sometimes you just got to get through them. Sometimes I go through a lot of bad drawings before I find something good. But it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. So, yeah, we went a little bit long, but I took as long as I needed to on this drawing. I could definitely add some more to it, and I probably will at some point. A little bit of shading, maybe a little bit of color, but I got where I wanted to go with it. Got some line work done and did a good warm-up, and I blabbered about a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah, again, if you've got any suggestions or comments or anything like that, definitely let me know. Post them on down below. YouTube has this awesome thing where you can just like type out whatever you want and I'll be able to read it. It's really cool. So definitely check it out. And thanks for watching, guys. You guys are the best. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.